We love answering questions. Right? We love answering your questions. So send us all of your real estate questions. And it's been an awesome response from everybody so far. And I know you have an email, you have, I think, a Facebook thread that you were going back and forth on with a gentleman by the name of Nate from Davenport, Iowa. And
Right.
he wants to invest in real estate. Tell me about that email thread, that Facebook thread. I keep calling it email thread. It's not an email thread. Tell me a little bit about how that Facebook thread went.
Yeah, that's very 2004 of you, Abhi, to be talking about
Hey, man.
email threads. I mean,
You
why
know
don't
what?
catch up with the rest of us?
Trying to do my best here, man.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great thing. I'm really happy we're doing it, and I'm glad you brought it up because we'd like to see everybody who's listening who has questions to go on to thinkrealtyradio.com. There's a form there. You can go to the OwnAmerica Facebook page. There's any number of ways to get something out to us. You can email me at greg@ownamerica.com, and we get a conversation going. And here, Nate was interesting because he just said, I live in Davenport, Iowa. And I know some of the listeners are thinking, where's Davenport, Iowa? Like, it looks flat, it's cornfields, and they click into this stereotypical view. And by the way, I've been there, and it's cornfields, no doubt.
It's totally cornfields and the part of the
But it's
part of the state that
heartland.
says we got dirt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heartland though, man. And
I
that
know.
matters, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that. But he said that Davenport, Iowa, but his attitude was, should I invest here because I live here, I grew up here, I know here, or should I go someplace else? And it was almost like, is Davenport a cool enough place to be investing? Is the opportunity really here? And so, great question, and we're going to dig into it. But the first question I replied back to him was, okay, great, what do you do? Like, I'm not going to diagnose your situation without understanding you, and that's the way everybody should be thinking, right? This is all about what's the right strategy for me? What's the, strategy is a very personal thing when this is your business, right? And so what he does is he manages a restaurant. He's not an owner. It's a chain restaurant. So I don't know what it was, but think Chili's or TGI Fridays or something like that. He's a manager there. He says it is a good job. He gets some bonus. He has a decent salary, and he's been able to save money, but he's got no ownership. And there's that word, right? My company is called OwnAmerica because the idea of this being an ownership society, real estate, businesses, own what you can. He or she who dies with the most America wins, right? So accumulate what you can. And we love a real estate portfolio as a business that can start as a side hack. In the case of Nate, it's his side hack, right? It's his, I work in the restaurant, I run the restaurant, I got to be thinking about that every day. But when I have my downtime, I research. When I have my downtime, I scrape together and I grind to come up with my funding myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come up with my money for my down payments to acquire these properties. And he's at a place right now where he's got enough money to make his first purchase. He's thinking about where. And I loved his answer. He is building a side business that he hopes someday will allow him to buy his own restaurant, okay, because he's in that business, or just quit the restaurant business altogether. I can picture being a manager of Chili's not being the most fulfilling thing in the world long term. So here's a guy who is saying, let me do what I have to do for myself and my family. And I asked him about that. I said, you have kids, what's the story? And he doesn't have kids yet. He's planning to have a family. He just got married. So like perfect, right? So
yeah, that's awesome.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. So he's thinking long term. Like when you get married, it's funny, you're married or single? I forget, Abhi.
I'm married.
You're married. Okay.
Yeah,
so you remember your bachelor party. What do all the married guys say at the bachelor party? that you can share on the air. What do they say?
Oh man, I don't think I'm allowed to share anything that happened that night on the air.
I'm keeping it clean. This is terrestrial radio. You gotta keep it clean. What they told me was they all think it's really funny to say run away.
Right.
Oh, don't do it. Right. Meanwhile, these guys are married for a long time, and yet they're telling me don't do it. Ha ha, really funny. But it causes you, all of that whole inflection point in your life causes you to think long term. Which is the right mindset. If you can link your real estate strategy to long-term things, having a family, raising kids is a lifetime thing, right? They're like under your roof for 20 years. And so everything is decades long. Everything is generational. Anytime you can link what you're doing to that, it creates a sense of patience. Like, when the media scares everybody and lights everybody's hair on fire and says the market's going to collapse, you say, it doesn't matter to me what the market does in the next 10 years because I'm in this for 50, right? So I know stuff's going to happen in between. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm going to keep chill here because I have a long-term mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Davenport. So I liked his question. One of the things about the Heartland is that the people that are there are there because there are um, cultural things about those parts of the country that have all to do with the people. I was in Minnesota recently, Minneapolis, right? Minnesota nice. That's their slogan, Minnesota nice, right? I live in the South now, Southern hospitality.
Yeah, that's
There are
right.
parts of the country that you're not part of the cool kid crowd in Iowa, right? Like when you visit New York, they may mock you, but mock them back because what you've got is bedrock. Right, so I'm looking at the Quad Cities. Okay, so Davenport, Iowa, is a city in the Quad Cities, which Davenport's on the Iowa side. Right across the river is the Illinois side. And what people don't always know is that you're talking about it being a few-hour drive, like a short drive, really, from Chicago. Okay, so it's right up there in the middle of the big Midwest cities, and these Quad Cities are basically four small cities, but when they come together, they come up with something. They become something pretty substantial, and the prices aren't super high, as you might expect in Davenport. And so the things that jump out at me about this market is if you go to my favorite chart, which is the annual price appreciation history, what you see is that Davenport didn't budge. It didn't budge during the housing boom. And we've talked here about the fact that the housing boom was based upon people going crazy with monopoly money from the bank in their pocket and overbidding for houses. And guess what? The coastal cities, the coastal markets went nuts with all that. And then Davenport just wasn't impressed. Didn't fall for that fad. People in Davenport bought houses they could afford. They knew what they qualified for. It didn't matter what the banker told them. They knew what they could qualify for. And you don't see any evidence of a housing boom or bust. What you see is a calm, gradual ride straight through the volatility of the stress test of that 10-year period between 2003 and 2010. All right, that's really noteworthy because what it says is you're not there. There aren't going to be people with their hair on fire. There's not going to be a situation here where you're going to be pressured because of some kind of a collapse of the market that you're afraid is coming.
That's
you can
right.
watch CNBC, right? You can watch CNBC, hear about the impending real estate collapse, and just laugh. Because if there is one, which there won't be unless something changes, Davenport wasn't affected by the last one, right? The one that happened 10 years ago. So it's bedrock, and you can generate a very tidy 8% return. We have a portfolio for sale right now on OwnAmerica.com of rental homes that is going to return an 8% return on your money just on the rents alone, plus what you get on appreciation. And you're going to be able to count on gradual, not sexy, unless you think getting rich over the lifetime is sexy, which actually it really is. And and listen, I'm talking.
That's a long-term game,
to the guy
though.
who knows sexy, right?
Hey, I'm just saying. Right.
So that's where we went with that. Is that I like Davenport. He knows the market. He lives there. He can accumulate right there.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody tell you that you should be investing in Miami. Miami's great for different reasons, but if you're right there and you can really keep a close eye on the investments. You can chug along in your day job, accumulate property in your side hack, wake up one day, your kids are 15 years old, going off to high school, and you can't believe how time flies, and you can't believe that you own 30 houses and most of them are paid off. That's the goal.
And you know what all of that comes down to? That comes down to one thing, and that's a long-term strategy. You can't do that if you don't have a long-term strategy. And I think facing the media, letting the media influence your investing personality and buy and acquisition patterns, not a smart idea. You need to zone all of that out and really pay attention to what matters. Your long-term mindset, buying single-family rentals, and saying, you know what? I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my family. And waking up 20 years later and having these properties paid off, fully cash flowing, yeah, that doesn't sound like such a bad day.